Okay, so basically, so we introduce basically SEB, we introduce grep. So grep is much more powerful than SED, and this tool awk, it is the most powerful that you can find. Okay, in order to do manipulation or maybe filtering over the text file, and so maybe you can count it as a language. Okay, so because it has a conditional statement, it has loop, and so you can introduce action for each pattern that you found it basically. Okay, but how is the syntax? Okay. Okay, so this is the syntax. So the awk, and then you can introduce basically the delimiter. If the delimiter by default, the delimiter is white space, but if the delimiter is not white space, so we can introduce it by the -f. If you are going to introduce some variables, so we can introduce it by -v. And okay, so you need to write your script here between the single quote, and then you can introduce the file. Okay, but I'll give you some examples. But the proc here, so the proc inside the single quote, so I suggest you that, okay, so you use it in this way. We have begin, we have end, we have filter, and then we have some actions here. Well, what it means and how does it work? So begin, it means that before starting the reading the files and basically applying the filter, so you need to do some action. Okay, so it will be executed before basically reading even single file. And so here, filter, it is basically, this is your regular, you introduce your regular expression here, and then according to the pattern that you find, so you can do some specific action over them. And finally by end, so you are going to, okay, and the last, so what you are going to do, so we can also introduce some actions there. So it is just like maybe for initialization, finalizing, or maybe some of you that you're familiar with object-oriented program is just like constructor and destructor of an object. At the beginning that you are going to make some things, and at the end you are going to destroy something. Okay, and this is, but how that, and so basically here, because over the filter you can introduce some actions, so it gives you more flexibility. But for the awk, I'm going to just introduce you one file, /etc/passwd. This file /etc/passwd, this is basically is a file that contains all of the information regarding to the users of the system. Okay, and when you see the content of this file, you see that this is the file that there is a delimiter here. The delimiter is colon. Okay, we have username, for example here, different username. So here we have username. The second option is the password for the username, and this is the UID for the username, the group ID for the username, the full name, the home directory of the username, this user, and also the basically the shell that when you log in you are going to use which shell. So this is the different the meaning of different columns in this file. Okay, and you suppose that, okay, we are going to work on this file by awk command, and so I'm going to filter the output of, for example, searching for the users that start with MA. So you use awk, as I said, so you can begin, just you can print, I'm printing that, okay, so before, I'm saying that, okay, before starting everything, so I have this, and then here there is a filter. I'm going to say start with MA, and then the rest can be everything. For this, so I'm just going to print them, and then at the end I'm going to print that this is after, but on which file? On etc/stability. Okay, is that clear? So I'm going to say that, okay, so with awk, okay, begin, this is the action. I'm going to print before, so this is just simple text, announcing that okay, I'm starting some things before applying the filter here. This is the filter that I'm going to use to search inside the file, but which file? /etc/path_stability, and then okay, which action I'm going to apply for the filter. I'm just going to print out the result, and at the end I'm going to print after. So as you can see here, okay, so there are different lines. So okay, before I print out before, and after I print out after, and these are the list of basically lines that match with this pattern. Okay. And okay, so but this is much more powerful than this. So for example, I'm going to just print third. I'm going to print the third values, not the whole line. Okay. It doesn't work because I didn't introduce the what is the delimiter here. Delimiter here is delimiter here was column. If you remember, it was column, right? I'm going to just, instead of printing out everything, I'm just going to print out the third column, right? And so this is the output of the third column. And if you search here, you can see that the third column, for example, here is okay. No, here. So the third column we have 6, 8, 1000 and 1001. 6, 8,000, 1001, right? Or maybe you are going to search for example, I told you that okay, so you can introduce the conditional statement. Yes. You suppose that I'm going to search for all of the among the list here, among all of the result. Only those I'm going to print that the third parameters is just higher than equal than 1000. Okay, so I'm going to only print out the basically the list that they are higher than 1000. As you remember, I have only 2. If you check here, because among the list there was only 2, and so here we have only 2. I'm printing only these 2. Okay, and so it seems it's much more powerful than. Well, that shows the output here in this example. In this example, I just okay. So print, it means just print out. Okay, but I'm not saying that print because when I say print, it means print the whole line. Okay, but I put a conditional statement. I'm not going to print because this is the body of the if, right? This print, and so I'm saying that okay, if the third column is higher than 1000, higher than equal than 1000, so print it out the line for me. Otherwise, but only those lines that start with MA, because we have also one filter. So among the filters, we can have also one condition. So I put one condition here. Is that clear? But what the purpose of the awk?
Yeah.
So I'm processing a file. I'm just going to see that, okay, so for me, if I ask you that, okay, please check inside the awk file and give me the list of the users that the UID is higher than 1000. So how can you do that? So you should go and then check this. It's not the first column, it's the third column. So you're confused, right? So you should just go and then check, okay, well, so it's difficult, right? And also it's boring. And also, for sure, you have a lot of mistake in this process. So by our command, so you can do this task very easily. Okay, so you are processing something. And okay, so this is the but one thing is that so also I can introduce variables that as I told you. So here you can introduce, for example, -v. You can introduce, okay, user mas'ul, okay, and after that here, so I remove. Okay, so I can give you another example. Okay, so here, if the first one is equal to user, is double. Okay, and so here, I'm just going to say that, okay, so I introduce a variable that basically the name of the variable is user and the content is mas'ul, okay? And I'm going to use this variable inside of my script here, and I say that if the $1, so, and I filter here all of the basically the lines that start with MA, okay? And then here I'm saying that $1, if the first column is equal to user, that the user is basically here mas'ul, so just print it out for you, okay? And because in the system only I have one user, so it just print out the user, that line. But the point here is that, okay, so writing, okay, so you suppose that you are going to writing a more complex script here between the column, right? So it seems that it's not very easy because the line becomes very dirty on your script. So you can put your basically your script inside the text file. For example, here I stored it already here. Okay, script. So for example, here inside of script, I'm searching, and the filter here is the pattern is just everything, and I'm going to print out the result of for the third is higher than 1000. Okay. So instead of writing stuff, so I mean that, okay, it was or this example, so I can remove this part. You see that, okay, now our commands is much more nicer, and then I can introduce simply the name of the script, and this is the result. So as you can see, I have a nobody user that the UID is higher than 1000, and also mas'ul and mas'ul. Okay. So by -f you can introduce the script, and so you can write all of those stuff inside the script. Okay, is that clear? Okay, the last thing is, okay, so do you remember for this command, for this one, I was searching inside of the /etc/pathwd all of the excuse me, all of the user that, okay, so let me here, I just replace this part with dust. Okay, this is the result. Okay, it means that I'm going to search inside of the /etc/pathwd all of the users that the third column, all of the lines that the third column is higher than 1000, and this is the result because it says, okay, nobody user mas'ul mas'ul. Okay. And okay, because here this part is really dirty. So if I'm going to write something that is more complex, so I need to maybe have multiple lines here. So I can replace this part that I highlighted, and I put it inside of the script. I put it inside of script. I just take that one and put it inside script, and then instead of writing this part, I just introduce -f and the name of the script. Okay, and you see that the result of these two is the same. Okay. Is that clear? Okay.